searching for answers.
Here are today's top stories.
Been over 24 hours.
And the local news.
What we see are a lot of things that are going on the earth.
This is Art of Heaven News Talk.
Broadcasting live from WHPC Studios in Garden City, New York. This is Art of Heaven News Talk, where we deliver global, national, and local news through the lens of faith. I'm your host, Johnny Brumit, and today, joining me are my co-hosts, Mark Russak of the Russak Outlook, media personality Chrystina Orlando, and former storm chaser, now pastoral intern,
retired,
my guy, Dan Bartucci. If you want to join the conversation, lines are open at 516-572-7440. So, we know what we're going to talk about today. Yes, the debate. It's the talk of the day. The Trump-Biden showdown. And it was a pretty good slugfest.
Ooh.
Did you see it? Did everyone see it here?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I did.
All right. Well,
Get the popcorn.
From the fetal position.
Yes. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to break it apart. We're going to analyze it. We're just going to have some fun talking about this debate. Let's get right into it. Now, if you were listening and you didn't listen to it last night, watch it, didn't even pay it no mind, well, I got you. We got the whole debate, the whole slugfest right here on Art of Heaven News Talk. Let's listen.
I've never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. Look.
And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies,
Every single thing he said is a lie.
if we had a leader in this war,
He didn't do a damn thing.
yet every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever.
And now he says if he loses again, such a whiner that he is,
What they've done to some people that are so innocent, you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
the only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now.
Destroyed the lives of so many people. My retribution is going to be a success. His son is convicted, going to be convicted probably numerous other times.
I don't know where the hell he's been.
He basically went after his political opponent.
He just doesn't know what he's talking about.
And it's a guy that's after his political opponent because he can't win fair and square. He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it.
Look, the fact of the matter is that he's dead wrong about, he's increased the terror.
Did you fire anybody that's on the border that's allowed us to have the worst border in the history of the world? Did anybody get fired? He ended catch and release. I made it catch and release in Mexico, not catch and release here.
You have the morals of an alley cat.
And he's going to drive us into World War III.
You want a World War III, let him follow and win and let...
I would be very happy to be someplace else, in a nice location someplace.
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, that's what anyway.
No indictments, no political opponent stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he can win.
Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him.
We now have the largest deficit in the history of our country under this guy.
I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
Never.
But I have,
I've seen you swing. I know you swing. I was willing to take a cognitive test, and you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced him.
You're a whiner.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of them.
Okay, there's a whole lot there to talk about. All right, let's get right into it. I just gotta say, first off, that I felt that Biden did okay. I thought he was gonna do so much worse. All right, I know that's a shock because the whole world is giving him a hard time for being just terrible. But most of the debate, I was pretty impressed. I won't front. I know Mark's looking at me like I'm crazy right now. But listen to this, though. On the other hand, I think Trump was pretty well behaved. That's just my thoughts, right? Now, before we get all too serious about this, I had this revelation watching it last night. It was almost like a sports game to me. You know, sometimes when you watch a sports game and you're sitting there all right, I got my team in the game, you know what I mean? And okay, they lost, whatever. I wake up the next day, I go to work, and I forget all about it. It has no impact on my life. But then maybe you're listening and you don't have any team in the game. You're like, both of these dudes are bozos. Well, hey, at the end of the day, you wake up, you move on with your day, right? I had this revelation about the debate, right? So I just want to put out there first and foremost, my thoughts are this should not be any reflection on the quality of your life. Destiny is in your hands. And that's the point I want to get across, all right? I'm not putting these people on a pedestal like they are going to solve all my problems in the world. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not dependent on who's in the White House to make my life better. Now, I'll hand it off to Chrystina. How about you?
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I think when we put all of our hopes, our dreams, our future into these political people, we're going to be really disappointed. We're going to be super angry. We're not going to be living the life that God intended for us. So we need to take this seriously. You know, of course, this is our country. This is our nation. But with that being said, this is not, everything is not on the line because of these two people. And thank God it's not, because last night was crazy.
Yeah, you know, the good news is we woke up this morning and God is still on the throne, and God is still going to be on the throne no matter which one of these gentlemen, or a third, if you want to start throwing that mix in.
Yeah, and how well they golf.
President, yeah, or the morals of a cat. I didn't know, like, feline attitude was going to become a benchmark for a presidential debate, but that is the good news. If you believe, as I do, God is on the throne no matter what happens. So, Johnny, to your point, yes, we can wake up, but this is also the world we live in. So now we have to try to find a positive way to kind of walk through this. I don't know, another adjective to put last night.
You know, this is important. We got to, pay attention, be involved, yes. But at the end of the day, like, don't think the whole world is going to crumble because one guy gets in or the other.
That's right. That's right.
What do you think, Mark?
I agree with you, but I also believe that we need to be in the game, so to speak. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of the conversation last night stemmed on the border. So my mind immediately goes to sex trafficking that's happening there. They know this is happening. They know, you know, what the stake is for something like that, the drug addiction that's happening over there. And I feel like that cannot be just brushed over specifically as Christians. Mm-hmm. How we're treating Israel. That's a big part of, my stake in the game. I believe that we need to support Israel in their battles, and let's face it, let's be honest. You know, the United States has been playing both sides of the fence with this. So, you know, I think there's more at stake, and I think as Christians we need to be vocal about it. But yes, life goes on. God's on the throne, to your point.
Yeah, but Mark, there's a call to action, right? And we watched, for lack of a better word here, two old men rant at each other. Yep. Right? We didn't have a lot of political debate. We had ranting just like the clip you played. Might as well be just any deli here on Long Island with two 80-year-old men. But hey, if you are a young adult and you want to make a difference, you are a believer, hey, go into politics. Politics used to be a noble field here in America, right? It used to be the way to get change done. So if you can do it, if you're great at public speaking, I remember taking speech and debate in high school, people get back into that. We need other leaders to rise up, and I hope and I pray that those are good Christian leaders, but we cannot have what we had last night much longer.
No, and you know, that's great. And I will say there's a lot of people who have taken your point, got involved on a local level, county level, state level. People are getting into it, they're getting their voices heard, which is always good.
That's the call to action, Dan, right there. Mm-hmm. Get into politics. Go to school. They did cover the wall, though, the border crisis. Obviously, it's a hot topic.
Yep.
And they also covered the economy, too. And I have some bits about that here.
The pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach in your arm.
We got hit with COVID, and when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929.
So they brought it back to 2020. You know, they kind of fussed over that. A little bit more of this.
We had the greatest economy in the history of our country.
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president and what Mr. Trump left me.
We had given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID.
Now, that's the thing. They always throw out these statistics, and they just spin them. You can spin anything, really. You can.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you can always pull something out, spin it, and, you know, present it like this party is the best.
Yeah.
It's a tricky thing, man.
I think what's good about this is that we've lived through the presidency from both of these candidates. So what they could say one thing, it's like, okay, I lived through it. This was my experience when Trump was president. This is my experience with Biden as president. So we at least have that. We don't have to just take their word for it.
You're absolutely right. We have a frame of reference.
Love that. Definitely. Here's some more about the inflation point.
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world. He's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks he had the greatest economy in the world.
He has not done a good job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Now, what's your opinion, Mark?
I don't think there's any debate there. Everybody in this country specifically will go to the supermarket, see the prices are at least 20 to 30% higher, go to the gas station, see that that's higher. That impacts the economy all the way around. What we're paying for childcare, what we're paying for our education. All of this has gone up, I would say, on average, roughly 20%.
Yeah, feels like that too. I mean, the math is the math, right? You can't debate what the math is, and I think we all kind of feel it. Going back a little further, I think we're all living in a post-COVID world, and I don't care. Well, you can pick any of your favorite presidents out. Anybody who is either in office when it happened, like Trump was, or had to follow it Biden, we're going to have some issues. There's going to be some junk and some things in the system that we have never sorted out. We still aren't going to know the ramifications of now a workforce, certainly here in the metropolitan area that is largely home. What does that mean? We see the coffee shops close. There's a lot, but this is what you need to have in a debate. How are we going to fix it? How are we going to do it? And I think it was at that point in the debate where we started dovetailing and just talking about records and just, again, two men bantering at each other.
This is what I've done. Yeah. This is what I've done. Okay, what are you going to do now if you're elected?
Right. And that's really what we need to do. Okay, we know where we're at, but what are you going to do about the future? What are you going to do to fix the problems? What's your vision?
Right. So I'll throw it to you guys. If you were an undecided voter last night and you're watching that and you are struggling to make ends meet, you maybe have multiple jobs at the supermarket, did any one of those guys give you an idea of, well, I'm going to vote for them because my life's going to, the economy's going to, you don't know. That's the saddest thing, what we left with last night.
Well, I look at Biden, I don't really see Biden. I see a puppet, I kind of do. I mean, it is what it is. Who's really going to be the one calling the shots? Right.
And I think that's really what we need what I take out of it, too, and I've been concerned about this for a long, long time. Who's really running the government?
Yeah, that's a mighty big job to do for the most healthy of us.
Well, it looks like the left is actually scrambling and considering replacing him now. That's what...
They're in full panic mode.
Yeah.
Within an hour of the debate, your commentators, your politicians, leaders of the Democratic Party.
Crying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Crying on the air.
Yeah.
But loyalists to Biden. Just, again, let's take it back to a little Christian view, right? Joe Biden, whatever you think of him, is made in the image of God, right? So I have to believe that and have to feel and pray, right?
And he's Catholic, Dan.
He's going to be excommunicated. Actually, I cannot believe he's not excommunicated yet, but I think if he walks down the aisle at a Catholic church this week for his abortion stance, they are not going to give him the Eucharist. That's just my take on it. But if you are in Biden's camp, how do you put him out there? You know what's going to happen. This is... I think even the format almost aided to this being worse for him.
Yeah, I would agree. And I honestly, just for me, what's his wife thinking? The guy's hurting.
Well, she's thinking she needs to help him off the stage. But the thing about it is,
he's up there alone. I got to help him.
But it's really though, how do we step back and stand by our convictions, look at politics, have a healthy conversation in love and not destroy relationships.
Yeah, right, absolutely.
I'm for relationships. We're people here. We're all humans on this planet Earth. Can we get along? And to Dan's point, I got a sample. I got a sound bite here that, I'm just gonna play it because you brought up the abortion thing, right? No matter where you stand, hey, that's your opinion. And Trump actually has an opinion himself, and I'll give him credit. He actually took a pretty strong stance. Here it is.
Like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions. I am a person that believes.
All right. And he went a little bit further. So, yeah, he believes in exceptions. But then he got a little bit more detailed.
I think it's important to believe in the exceptions. Some people, you have to follow your heart. Some people don't believe in that. But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important.
All right. Now, that was pretty respectful.
Yep.
But then he went a little hard at the other side.
The problem they have is they're radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. After birth, if you look at the former governor of Virginia, he was willing to do this. He said, we'll put the baby aside and we'll determine what we do with the baby, meaning we'll kill the baby.
Okay, so no matter what your stance, what your opinion is, you know, he has his, and he took it, and I give him credit for speaking out strongly.
Can I just interject one thing? When Roe v. Wade was passed in 71 or so, that was supposed to be for extreme circumstances. You know, in other words, you weren't as casual as you are today. Maybe that's not the right word, but you know, here we are 50 years later, and to his point, there are situations and people will say it is okay right up until the point of birth. So that, you know, it's come a long way, and I believe, in the wrong direction.
True.
It's scary that we even need to have a debate whether or not if a child's already born, if they have the right to live. That's one thing that I just, and Dan and I were talking about this before the show, that should just be a just no-brainer, like we are against this. It's crazy that we even have to bring this up.
Yeah, I think what was shocking in this portion of the debate, and I don't know the exact time, but it felt like 5 or 6 minutes went by before either candidate actually just came out and said, I'm against late-term abortions, right? I think it took Biden to the end of what he was talking about. Like, that has to be first.
Yeah.
And as Christians, it's not going up and bombing the abortion clinics, okay? You are loving the mother, helping them through, and if you have a way to help the means so they can have a child, that's where we have to be. I think Trump went a little over on that, but the fact both candidates didn't stand up there and talk about life in general, it's just really
and
troubling
to address the women that might be considering an abortion, what are the alternatives? What can we do to take care of these women instead of just, I just feel like they were just trying to pander to their voters.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would just say for the church, we need to let the women know who have had abortions, they can be forgiven.
They are loved. Yeah, you are not thrown out. You are not less of a woman because you've had an abortion. That's where we were talking about before about a call to action. We have an opportunity as Christians to change the narrative on it. It is not just the old school shaming the woman going in there. It is talking to them about the gospel message first and foremost.
Exactly.
And both these candidates have an opportunity, especially a professed Christian and a Catholic that I think is going to get excommunicated any day. That'll just be fun to watch.
Into an abortion rally and it starts with the sign of the cross, then you know.
Yeah.
Kind of troubling. Pope Francis, line 1, holding for Biden.
Well, so are you going to be the one picketing outside of one of those clinics, Dan?
I don't want to say I'd ever picket. I would love to be a resource for somebody, and I'm not a woman. Let me start there by a man, but I'd love to be a resource. I'd love to share the good news. I'd love to mark to what you just said. If an opportunity arose that you can re-echo to somebody, you are loved.
Yeah.
Right? Jesus said so many times, the woman who had multiple wives, right? The woman who had the problem of bleeding. If we go back to Scripture, he always refers to them as daughter. And I think too hard, the stance against abortion becomes telling women, no, you're out, or you're less, or you're not part of this team.
That's right.
And I think we've lost the narrative on the abortion debate a long time ago. This kind of made it worse.
Let me just throw out across the pond in London, what happened 2 months ago. A woman was praying silently in front of an abortion clinic, and she was arrested.
Oh.
I read that.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the far extreme side. So, I don't think I'd pick it, Johnny, but I'd go pray,
and
for sure.
I think her husband was locked up, too, I think, right?
That was in Canada.
That was another one.
Two different instances.
Got it. Well, you're listening to Art of Heaven News Talk on 90.3 WHPC. If you have a question, you can call us up. Number is 516-572-7440. Or if you have a comment. Now, this is our Art of Heaven News Talk perspective, right? That's what we're about here. Free place to share how you feel, right? Your opinions. Your opinion matters, Chrystina.
Thank you.
Now, if you look at the news, though, everywhere, it looks like there's a common thread throughout headlines all across America this morning.
Something obvious that has been blatantly shown last night, maybe?
I mean, the New York Post. What was that? What did that one say? Something about being sad.
Oh, the Post had to be something wild. Yeah.
So it is something to address. Like, we can't just sweep this under the rug. The most powerful leader in the world, right? Of the free country here, is struggling, and it's sad now.
And I will say, headlines all over the world were bashing him.
Yeah, I mean,
if you think people who
London, Paris, Belgium,
those are the allies, Mark. Can you imagine what the people who want to see an end to American freedom are watching, and they're going, boy, if that's the person in charge, heaven knows what we can do, right?
No.
And they would probably say, what can we do to get him in office again?
Oh, yeah.
That's a whole other show, Mark. We're going to need a couple hours.
You mean the whole world isn't rooting for us? No, but like for real though, I mean, like I said to begin with, I thought he did actually pretty good. He hung in there, but you can't really ignore some of these takes here.
Both colors. Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look.
Ooh, I'm in pain.
Yeah, so this could go on and on, you know.
I have to close my eyes to focus.
For Black Americans, the impact on the choice, the idea that they're gonna. I've been proposing that.
Now this is the guy in charge of our country.
The millionaires pay 1%.
You know,
This is the guy who's negotiating with world leaders.
Listen, I'll vote for the best candidate.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I don't care. Like
down to a 6.
But
I mean, put it aside.
For me, I am a conservative, but I voted for Democrats before. I voted for independents.
Yeah, I'm not
for the best person who, you know.
That's right.
I'm not against voting for any party.
What I'm going to do is fix the taxes.
But I feel like we really need to set the bar higher for our politicians. I'm going to say it.
You sure? You mean
one Israeli was accidentally killed?
This is him doing pretty good.
Politicians, but if you were a shareholder in a public company and the CEO came out and gave the annual shareholder meeting like that, you'd be like, this guy's got to go. Like, I feel bad for him. But I don't know how you put him out there. You know how this is going to go. And I think the format just highlighted how bad this was.
Now, here at Art Heaven News Talk, we took a big portion of this show for the debate because, you know,
it's important.
Yeah, it's important. You know, be involved, pay attention, show love in doing so. But there's also some astronauts in outer space. Mm-hmm. Now, what do you think? Do you think they watched the debate? Right? Let's cover this story now.
There are satellites out there.
What do you think? I mean, first of all, let's talk about that. So the astronauts,
they're stuck.
They are stuck in outer space. Boeing sent them up there with a helium leak, and all of a sudden, the leak got worse, and they're like stuck. They're like, okay, wait a minute, just let us figure something out, and then you can come back. Right?
I think enough said. You said Boeing. I mean, people are not flying Boeing to go from here to Orlando, let alone to the space station. Yeah, we have astronauts. We have Americans that are stuck in space. They are concerned about the condition of the spacecraft to get them home. If you read the news, they're going to say it's out of abundance of caution, but you don't leave human beings up in space longer than they need to. So
definitely,
Boeing's got another issue.
That would scare the heck out of me.
It sounds terrifying.
Can we stop ruining Elon Musk? Elon Musk can get astronauts up and down, but Boeing can't.
You know, speaking of Elon Musk, he tweeted last night the funniest tweet. I thought it was brilliant. He wrote, "Tonight was a clear victory for memes." Listen, I got a caller.
Not wrong.
I got a caller on the line. Let's see what they got to say.
Hi, good afternoon. If I could be really quick, make some points. We killed about 200,000 people in a nuclear bombing of Japan. We didn't care if those women were pregnant. We killed people. We killed people in Vietnam. Massacre, My Lai massacre, one of the worst atrocities. Killing children, women who are pregnant. In Iraq, I think we killed 500,000
Okay,
children.
so you're comparing this to... Are you comparing this to the debate or what?
Like abortion.
I'm saying in general, the idea that we're talking about a pregnant woman, there are pregnant women all around the world that are in horrible places. We're not going there to defend them. We have half a budget to kill people with military. When we say a right to life, what happens if a woman is a prostitute, has her 10th child? Can she have an abortion? If she's a crackhead?
You know what? The man's got a point. The man has got a point. So, listen, we do need to show love and compassion and grace and mercy to all women going through any situation.
Absolutely.
You know?
But I'd say that the response I'd have that to the callers, we have to be on the side of life. So we brought up war. We brought up the end of World War II. That's challenges to life, right? We have to be aligned to the gospel message and to defending life anywhere we can. Yes, most of us are not going to go into a foreign country to defend women, right? I would hope people do, but we're not doing it here. Right?
I mean, it all comes down to what would Jesus do? What would Jesus think, right?
That's right.
Let's step back and go to the source. Like, one thing I find in Scripture is Jesus always went to the source. He always thought, you know what? None of this situation matters. What is your heart look like? You know, so if we really walk with God, like, be open to what God wants for our lives, the right way to do things, you know, it would probably avoid some of these situations. Now, obviously, this is a sinful world. We're all going to get into messes. But, hey, by the grace of God, I believe if you have faith, you can turn a situation for good.
That's right. Be the light in the world that you want to see.
Very good.
Thank you, Mark Russak, Chrystina Orlando, and Dan Bartucci for another great episode of Art of Heaven News Talk here at 90.3 WHPC.
Have a great week, everybody.
God bless you.
Be well, everyone.
God bless.